Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. I want to believe, was it last month or this month? We've done a video, simulation of JD Vance versus California Governor Gavin Newsom. And I'll tell you, it well worked in Vance's favor. Now, a lot of people are questioning, oh, what if Kamala Harris is to return to becoming the Democratic nominee? Well, there is a very overwhelming chance that she ultimately will become the Democratic nominee. Not to mention, there has been enough momentum in the Democratic public for her. We're seeing that Kamala Harris is leading the said other options for the said nomination by double digits, over 20, 30 points. So right now, as it looks like, it seems Harris is favored overwhelmingly to receive the Democratic nomination. The establishment, not so much. Lindy Lee, the co-chairwoman of the DNC, saying no, thank you, and she's on her way out of the Democrat Party, and we're seeing the signs pretty well. But the question is, what would a J.D. Vance versus Kamala Harris look like? Now, J.D. Vance was Kamala Harris's original opponent for the vice presidential race, as you should know. But ultimately, if it weren't for Joe Biden dropping out, this would have somewhat happened, where we would have had Kamala Harris and J.D. Vance debating each other. But now, alternatively, it says J.D. Vance is ultimately favored to win the nomination according to GOP primary polls in 2028. And we have Kamala Harris favored to win the Democratic nomination. More favorable with more momentum compared to J.D. Vance, but can she win? Let's go ahead and find out. So it's 6 p.m. Now, 6 p.m. on the East Coast, we have Indiana and Kentucky. They closed their polls. This is, of course, the grace period, the grace hour. No real states are being called yet, as you know. And the night really begins at 7 p.m. sharp. And that said, we would officially call Indiana and Kentucky in the hands of J.D. Vance. Vermont going to Kamala Harris. That is 3 electoral votes. Okay, so we got Vance in the lead, 19 electoral votes. 7:30 p.m., we got 3 states closing: Ohio, West Virginia, and North Carolina. We can now project that, of course, West Virginia going in the favors of J.D. Vance, 23 electoral votes. Ohio likely will go to Vance, but it's too close to call. We can officially call South Carolina and Florida in the hands of J.D. Vance, 62 electoral votes to his advantage. Okay, so now it is officially, I want to believe we can make the calls for 8 p.m. We can call Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Ohio. We can officially project will go to J.D. Vance. Maryland will be projected to go to Kamala Harris. 13 electoral votes. Vance officially leading Harris, less than 100 electoral votes, but an impressive lead indeed. Oklahoma going to J.D. Vance. We can officially project that Missouri will go to J.D. Vance. Solid red state, 122 electoral votes. As you can clearly see here, Vice President Vance is leading the former vice president, but with an ultimate, a huge lead, over 100 electoral votes. We can, although, project Massachusetts to the vice president. It's 8:30 p.m. We can make our moves. Arkansas going in favors for the vice president. No surprise here. Washington, D.C. going in favors for the former vice president there. Rhode Island will go for former Vice President Kamala Harris. All right, so this is what it's looking like near the end of the hour. Kamala Harris really struggling to get over 100 electoral votes. Below 50s, but she will get a bump thanks to New York, and that will be called eventually at 9 p.m. And with that being said, we can officially call New York and Colorado for Kamala Harris. Illinois, surprisingly, is too close to call. But it eventually, actually, we will call it soon, but we're going to go ahead and make a projection. Louisiana, Texas, along with North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska's 3rd congressional district, we can call the 3rd, and 2nd districts, not the 2nd district, 2nd district's too close to call as of right now, and Wyoming. They're going in favors to J.D. Vance. Let's go ahead and give Kansas to J.D. Vance and Iowa. We can project that Iowa will also go to J.D. Vance. Illinois, the eastern neighbor of Iowa, will go for Kamala Harris. You'll see she will also remain victorious in Delaware, bringing her to 91 electoral votes. Maine's 1st district, she will remain victorious. All right, so J.D. Vance's lead is strong. It's pretty much speculated that you can't necessarily break this lead. Kamala Harris needs to regain a lot of momentum. She doesn't have the momentum. J.D. Vance does, and clearly he's having the better night. Almost to 200 electoral votes, and usually the candidate that reaches 200 electoral votes is usually the winner, excluding 2000, where Al Gore reached over 2,000 electoral votes. Technically, he did win the popular vote, and supposedly he won Florida, so it's kind of unknown here, but it's pretty much done and said. And J.D. Vance having this lead over 100 electoral votes, it's pretty much done and said that this night is pretty much over for Kamala Harris. She is not kicking in that momentum. She's pretty much lost so much ground. And at the top of the hour at 10 p.m., we can project that Utah has gone to J.D. Vance, an easy state, obviously, 205. It's trending more left. And supposedly could be a swing state in the future, but it's still remaining a Republican stronghold. Montana, and we forgot to project Nebraska at large, should have been Republican. If you're following along with the map, keep in mind, Nebraska at large was intendingly, the 2 electoral votes for Nebraska at large was supposed to be Republican, but clearly, as I was pointing out, but obviously, yes, Utah in favors for J.D. Vance. No surprise. Yeah, Harris is not even cracking 100 yet, but she will. It's officially, we can make a projection at 11 p.m. Utah will go in favors to Kamala Harris. 146 electoral votes. We can go ahead and project Oregon and Washington to her camp. Idaho will go for J.D. Vance. Now that 100 electoral vote lead is broken, as we expected, but the damage is already done. There's no really making up that advantage. But looking here, we are ready to make some good calls here. We're going to project that North Carolina and Pennsylvania will go for J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, 90 electoral votes, but ahead of Kamala Harris. But the big news of the night, he is very well likely to clinch the presidency after this projection. He has basically he has kept Pennsylvania, North Carolina, 2 swing states, 2 battleground states, and yeah, he just needs over 20 electoral votes more to win. Kamala Harris is in the worst situation here, and she honestly needs to find a better way forward here. So we'll go ahead and project Hawaii, though, for her. 170 electoral votes, 100 electoral votes away for claiming the presidency, but her opponent, J.D. Vance, only 20 votes away. So it really is not looking good for her, as we kind of expected it wouldn't. But we can now make a projection. Georgia is going for J.D. Vance. 266 electoral votes away to clinch the presidency. It honestly could be any state by now that will be projected to his favor. But let's go ahead. We can make a projection in Connecticut. That state is gone for Kamala Harris. Now, J.D. Vance has certainly won the presidency, because if you give Alaska and Maine second, that gives you 200 electoral votes exactly. And that's what will happen. And they could pray and, do whatever you want. Just beg and sleep that Maine second will go blue. No, it won't. Because that is, of course, Maine is somewhat of a compatible state. And if it weren't a compatible state, Maine second would be very blue, in other words. So that is in regards to that. We are going to make the projection of the night. We can officially call Wisconsin has gone for J.D. Vance, giving him the presidency. J.D. Vance is projected president-elect of the United States, the 48th president of the United States. Of course, he, broke the Van Buren curse, which, of course, the curse that is set to each vice president challenging to succeed his boss in a presidential election. The last time this happened was in 1988. What am I thinking? But yes, Al Gore, he failed. And then you got John C. Breckinridge. He failed also. So obviously, this is not looking so good. Obviously, Democrats couldn't make a comeback with Harris. 99 electoral votes lead against, of course, Harris. J.D. Vance will win an additional pickup in New Hampshire. Virginia is too close to call, but some say it is likely to go to Vance. We can project the news in New Mexico that Harris will win. In New Jersey, we can project that Harris will win in New Jersey. Minnesota is too close to call. We can make the news and project that Vance will win in Michigan. 295 electoral votes. All right, so this is probably what it will look like at the end of the night. Kamala Harris allegedly may not reach over. I think she will. It really does depend if she wins Virginia. If she wins Arizona or Nevada or Minnesota, it's likely to go to her. But in fact, we are going to make the projection right now. Minnesota goes to Kamala Harris due to the Twin Cities directly. And as of right now, I do think it will go Democrat in the future. It really does depend on the future of that Minneapolis, St. Paul metropolitan area there. But we can project that Virginia will go for Vice President, now President-elect, J.D. Vance. We can now make a projection. Maine will go for J.D. Vance. He will also pick up that second district that we all said that he would win. And actually, Maine will go to Kamala Harris. If I said that Maine would go to J.D. Vance, I'm mistaken. It goes to Kamala Harris. No surprise. But yes, that second district in Nebraska also goes to Kamala Harris. A 200-point lead once again. We can now make a projection. Alaska will go for J.D. Vance. It's starting. It's not looking like 312. It's very possible that J.D. Vance will surpass his boss. But this is what it's going to look like at the end of the night. We can officially now project Nevada going to J.D. Vance, 318 electoral votes. And finally, Arizona, 11 electoral votes going to J.D. Vance. And that said includes our presidential election prediction. Too early, but of course, if it is Kamala Harris in the state that she is right now and the currently imploding Democratic Party, it's probably not looking so well for her. But obviously, things can change. We've seen Donald Trump be in some sort of situation. We've seen half the Republican Party, and it really does depend on momentum. So what do you guys think in regards to this video? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.